Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Got a pretty short video for you here today, but one that we think you'll get something out of, and that's going to be our top 5 mistakes that we've made while we've been out UTV camping and overlanding. We're kind of kicking off our riding season this year with some videos that are designed to kind of help you get prepared and get ready for the adventures that you have coming up this summer. When we're done talking about those 5 mistakes we've made, I also want to give you just a real short update on the channel, where we've been and what we plan to do this year. So these mistakes aren't all of the mistakes we've made. It was kind of hard narrowing it down to just 5, but we figured we'd pick the biggest ones and maybe help you guys avoid some of them as well. Number 5 on our list is overestimating how far you can travel in a single day. Sometimes this is thinking that I'm going to get to a certain campsite and really trying to push to get there, or sometimes it's just catching yourself driving out too late, so now you're pulling into camp and you're setting up when it's really dark. That's not a lot of fun to set up camp. By the time you get everything set up, everybody's exhausted and you tend to sleep in maybe a little bit too much the next day, and then you're behind schedule there if you're actually trying to make it to a destination. Of course, if you have kids, it can be really hard on them too to be in the machine riding all day, especially like our machine where they're riding in the back seat the whole time. And you just kind of get the sense of urgency that you have to push to get somewhere. Now, there's been days where we've ridden over 200 miles in a day, which is a lot. And then there's been days where we've only gotten 50 to 75 miles in as well. If I were to plan something out, I would tend to try to plan shorter stops, or what you can do is maybe instead of identifying just one location where you want to camp or where you want to spend the night, you might identify a few, because sometimes, you know, the ride just goes quicker than expected. Sometimes it takes longer. Of course, sometimes you just don't have that option. There might only be one place where you can stay, or you might have a reservation at a campground or a hotel or something like that. Our number 4 mistake was not having the maps that we needed for the area we were going to be riding in. Now, this happened to us during our Idaho trip. We actually went to an area where we really hadn't planned on riding in. So we had a whole bunch of maps, but we wound up just changing the location where we were going to be riding. My advice would be download as many maps as you can ahead of time. Try to get, you know, if you're in a national forest land or something like that, try to get maps for surrounding areas as well as early on in your trip as you can. We went to some ranger stations and we were able to pick up some of the National Forest motor vehicle use maps, which I talk about in my book and we've talked about in other videos. We were able to get those for the ranger district we were in and a couple of the surrounding ones, but they didn't have all of them. And sometimes you show up at one of those ranger stations and they might be out of maps. So always have a backup. Download a bunch of PDF maps onto like an Avenza. You can go online and get them as well. Download them onto your tablet. Whatever you got to do, just make sure you have some backups. And then consider the potential for your plans to change like they did for us. And you might want to look at some surrounding areas as well, or like a plan B, somewhere you might wind up in if you wind up not being able to ride where you wanted to, or things just aren't working out great. Don't ever assume you're going to have cell reception if you get into like a remote area, like a national forest or something like that. Once you're there, it can be almost impossible to download stuff unless you can find a good Wi-Fi location. Our third biggest mistake, which we don't make very often because we're fairly experienced campers, that is not selecting a good campsite location. And this really bit us when we were in the Uinta Mountains and we just got poured on. It just rained cats and dogs. And we had pulled into this place kind of by this creek, and it was along a trail, and it looked like a really good spot. But we kind of set up in a hurry, and you know, we had a good general area, but we didn't pick the best spot for the tent. And we wound up in kind of a low area where when it rained, all of the water rushed down the trail and it kind of turned this bend and it went right where our tent was. And we had like 3 inches of water, just a constant stream for well over an hour flowing under and around our tent. And thankfully, our core tent really held up. We didn't really get much water inside. That was kind of a miracle. We had a good general site, but we should have been more specific about where we wanted our tent to go. And, you know, that's one of the disadvantages of having a really big tent, you know, for a family of 4 and all of our gear, is that it kind of limits your location. You kind of need a big flat area to set it up. So that's something to think about too when you select the tent to use. The second biggest mistake we've made, unfortunately, multiple times, is not reacting to changes in the weather fast enough. For us, this has primarily been riding out there, looking at the radar and seeing, you know, it looks like rain's coming, and not stopping then and getting our rain gear at least prepped and ready, if not on. And this really caught us off guard when we were on our trip across Wisconsin. we were heading up north and we saw the weather starting to change. We saw on the radar that some storms were rolling in, but we were looking at it and we kind of thought that we were going to avoid the storms. Well, they developed a little bigger and faster than we expected, and we didn't avoid them, and we got soaked because once it started raining, it caught us off guard, and by then everything was wet. There was no sense in getting our rain gear out. We learned from that one to keep our rain gear in a really accessible place. That day, I believe we actually all had our separate rain gear all stored in our separate clothing bags, which was a huge mistake. You should just keep all of your rain gear together in the same bag, so when you need it, everyone can grab it, you can throw it on really quick and get going. Good rain gear I have found for all of my outdoor activities: hunting, shooting, overlanding, camping, riding, whatever. Super important to have really good rain gear. And if there's one piece of clothing or one piece of gear that I really recommend like investing in, spending a little bit more money on, that's good rain gear. And I think maybe we'll have a video about that down the road. Keep your rain gear where it's easily accessible. If the weather is changing, stop early, get your stuff out, and get prepared so you don't get soaked. All right, so now we're down to the number one mistake we made while overlanding out of our Polaris General. We talked about it a little bit last week. That is not making sure your machine is mechanically ready to go, not doing a full inspection, a thorough check of it before you head out on your trip. This bit us really just one time. It was the one time that I kind of assumed everything was good. And of course, it wound up hurting us, and that was during our trip across Wisconsin. If you've seen that video, halfway through the first day, we had a belt failure. Our belt got really chewed up. We started losing power to the machine. We wound up basically limping at the last hour or so to the campsite. Now, I'm not positive the belt was in bad shape before we left home, but it probably was. We had done some riding fairly recently, and I just assumed the belt was in good shape because I didn't have any problems with it before. But I should have checked that belt, and it might have saved me having to change it at the campsite, and then driving for the next couple days and being a little concerned that if we have another belt failure, that I really didn't have a spare. And that wouldn't be in a good spot to be in, having your only good belt go and then not having a spare to replace it when you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, far away from a dealer or other help. So those are the top 5 mistakes that we've made while UTV camping or overlanding. Like I said, they're not all of the mistakes. Certainly we've made others with food and packing and all sorts of stuff like that. And perhaps we'll share some of those with you as well in the future. But those are the big mistakes we've made, and hopefully that little list there will help you guys avoid some as well. But I'm going to get into a real quick update now on the channel and where we've been and what's going to be going on this year. Last year was a super busy year for us. We stepped away. We had a lot of work stuff going on. Kim had kind of a rough schedule at work, just with flexibility for us to be able to go out and do things. And my business was busy, and we just had to kind of step back away for a bit. We still went on adventures, but we just didn't quite have the time to film and edit the content like we wanted to. It's spring now. It's May here in Wisconsin, and we're looking forward to some pretty cool adventures. Kim and I are going to be taking a trip we're planning out of the side-by-side with our dogs this year, so we'll definitely have that. I do want to mention something, and that is we're probably going to be expanding the scope of our content a little bit. When we started this channel, we always had intended it to be, an outdoor adventure channel, specifically family-oriented, but just kind of general outdoor activities, not so much focused on the side-by-side riding, which we love. It's just that when we started the channel, we happened to get our General out about the same time, and the content was fun. We enjoyed doing it, and it really took off. People really gravitated towards it. So we thought, heck, let's keep rolling with it. But there's a lot of other stuff we really enjoy doing too. Love to fish. We love to hunt. We love to be back here working on our property and doing kind of some, I don't know if I can call it homesteading stuff, but some stuff out here with our property, improving that. And you're going to see, some more of that. You're going to see probably some more solo adventures, just because I'm the one with the most flexible schedule. So I'll take you on some of my trips. Got a plan this year to be throwing my kayak on top of this sucker and going up north, doing some riding and fishing some real small lakes that are hard to get to up in northern Wisconsin. Hopefully get some muskies caught out of my kayak, which I think should be pretty rad. Jolene was out turkey hunting this spring, didn't get one. She's gotten a deer the last couple of years, all sorts of stuff like that. I think for us to continue and really enjoy the content creation and the filming that we're doing and sharing our adventures with you guys, we are going to have to just broaden out a little bit from where we are. So we'll see if it works. If it doesn't, who knows? Maybe we'll move some of that content to a different channel. We'll start a different channel or something, or you know, and then just keep this all side by side, or maybe we'll make this the broad adventure channel with everything in it. Who knows? But wanted to give you a little bit of an update there with that, what to expect. Like I said, I don't think you'll see a lot of changes, but you'll probably just see a few more adventures here that aren't strictly side-by-side riding. And, you know, if you enjoy that, hey, tune in. We always appreciate the views and the support. Give it a thumbs up, of course. If you don't, well, that's okay. You know, we'll certainly catch you back next time one of our side-by-side trips or side-by-side content comes around. So, all right, well, let me know your thoughts. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. I don't know. We're always curious to hear from you, and we love interacting with you on our channel. So drop those comments below. You can also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and our website, northwoods.family. We got some other stuff up there for you as well. So check us out. Let us know how you're doing. Thoughts, comments, all that stuff. Always appreciate it. All right, we'll catch you later.